Welcome to the Rancher's Voice, presented by the Montana Stockgrowers Association. I'm Jay Bodner, MSGA's Executive Vice President.
And I'm Raylee Honeycutt, Director of Natural Resources. Join us for conversations surrounding policy, the legislature, and issues that matter most to ranching families in Montana.
Welcome to this week's episode. This week we're going to talk a little bit about our last call for registering for MidYear Meeting in Lewistown, Montana. Once again, we'll be in Lewistown this week, so everybody take a look at that. And then we also do have a very special guest we have with us this week. We have our Governor, Greg Gianforte.
Yes, and we are excited to share a bit with you about that interview, but first wanted to remind you to subscribe to the Rancher's Voice, follow us on social, and make sure to share, like, and comment on each episode. And we still would love to hear from you, you listening, and get ideas of upcoming interviews or thoughts. You can email those to us at Kenny, Keni, at mtbeef.org.
So this week we'll be in Lewistown, as I mentioned. We'll be there June 9th through the 11th, starting off with some business meetings on Wednesday, and I'll kick it over to you, Raylee.
Sure. So on Wednesday, June 9th, we will be kicking off the mid-year kind of section of the agenda with Public Lands Council and Montana Association of State Grazing Districts joint board meeting. That starts at 9:30 a.m. And then that afternoon, Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m., we have the annual meeting for the State Association of Grazing Districts. Today, a little bit into that agenda, wanted to give you a quick highlight of some of the speakers that will be speaking during that annual meeting. We have updates from MSGA as well as the Montana Fish Wildlife Commission. And then we have Caitlin Glover, who's the Executive Director of the National Public Lands Council, coming in to give an update on all things from a national perspective. We'll also be hearing updates regarding the Rangeland Resources Committee, as well as the Sage Grouse Oversight Team. And then we'll round out the meeting with a quick update from Commissioner Troy Downing, who sits on the State Land Board, and he wants to just reach out and talk to producers about some upcoming items and thoughts from the Land Board and things related to the state trust land. And then we'll close out the annual meeting with the great opportunity to hear from the state director of BLM, John Mielhoff, and he will be giving an update on all things BLM and issues that pertain to public land and permittees of BLM. So that's what Thursday looks like. And then we will be headed into that's what Wednesday looks like, and we'll be headed into Thursday with a couple other meetings.
Yeah, so Thursday we kick things off with the Montana Stockgrower. Our board of directors will be meeting that morning. We meet from 8 to 11 or 8 to 12. Actually, I think we might start a little earlier than that. So we have a lot of work to do on behalf of the organization, and so it's great for the board to get together and talk about a lot of those issues. In addition to that, our Montana Stockgrower Foundation trustees will be holding their annual meeting also, and they'll be meeting from 10 to 1 that day. As we kind of move in, we'll get an opportunity to register. If you do show up and you haven't had an opportunity to pre-register, please just show up. We do have registration available there, so we'll have Lori at the desk and ready to help you out with your registration needs. We also then start our general session at 1 o'clock, and we do have a really full general session. We get to kick things off with the governor of Montana, Greg Gianforte. So I'd like to thank the governor for taking time to come join us at our mid-year meeting and visiting with our members. Also, we'll have Jim Steinbeiser will kick things off as the president of MSGA. We do have Don Scheffelbein from the NCBA, and he will provide a quick update for us. And then I will also be able to provide a quick update to the member. And just as a little tidbit, I guess, we're going to be unveiling some new things for the membership. So we're pretty excited about that. So once again, make sure you're there at the general session at 1 o'clock to hear all that great information.
Absolutely. Very excited about Jay's special announcement. And then following that first general session, we have our first policy committee meeting at 2:45. The Land Use and Environment Committee will be meeting. Again, we have a great lineup of topics and speakers that we will be hitting on during that committee meeting. Everything from 30 by 30, national heritage areas, an update regarding the APR allotment use change requests, as well as things about water issues, updates on legislation as it pertains to water. And then we will be joined by Director Hank Warsek of FWP, as well as Quentin Kujala, to give a thorough update on what is happening from Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And then we'll round out the committee hearing or committee meeting with topics surrounding endangered species and grizzly bear. Again, and as it pertains to every one of our committee meetings. In each of these meetings, there'll also be opportunities for our members to bring policies and resolutions forward to be voted on and adopted by the membership. So if you have ideas, make sure to send those to staff, Jay or myself, or if you know any of the committee chairs, reach out to them as well. And we look forward to hearing what the membership brings to the meeting this summer.
Great, and we get to round out the evening with a little bit of fun. We're going to have a great banquet dinner out there. Actually, we're going to have kind of a street dance banquet dinner. It's going to be over by the Eagles, and so we'll have a band there. We're going to have some auction items for the foundation. It's going to be a really fun evening, and we get to support a good cause for the foundation that has a lot of great programs that support agriculture in Montana. And so come out and have some fun and support some of those great auction items. On Friday, we do kick things off in the morning at 8 o'clock. We're going to have a section on some brands. We had been visiting with the Historical Society, and so we going to have a presentation on some of the history of the brands in Montana. So that'll be a kind of a fun event. We're also going to have Ethan Wilfor from Montana Department of Livestock there, just talking a little bit, providing an update on the brand re-record. And then also we do have Ed Lord, who is going to be providing a donation to the foundation. One of the brands that he has, a long family brand that we're going to be auctioning off through the year, and that's going to go toward the foundation. So Ed will be there talking a little bit about that. So we're excited about the morning session.
And if you get up early enough, we will have a little surprise there as well for you. So lots of surprises lined up for anyone attending the mid-year meeting. Following that Brands Coffee Talk, we will have our Beef Production and Marketing Committee meeting. Again, a great lineup of speakers in that committee. We'll kick off the meeting with an update from the Department of Livestock, and Mike Honeycutt, the executive officer, will be coming in to chat about how the agency fared through session and give updates on all things surrounding the Department of Livestock. Then we'll chat a little bit about the Seed Stock Committee and Cattle Directory, followed by an update from Dr. Marty Zalewski, the state veterinarian in our Cattle and Health Committee. And then we have the opportunity to hear from Jim Fryer, a member of MSGA, but someone who also serves as the NCBA Live Cattle Marketing Chair Committeeman, and he will be giving an update on all things cattle marketing.
Yeah, and also at 9 o'clock, we do have the Tax Finance and Ag Policy Committee, and that will be held also going from about 9 to about 11:30, 11:15. We do have a good line of speakers up for Tax Finance and Ag Policy also. We are going to bring in the new director of the Department of Revenue, Brendan Beatty. Brendan is, just appointed to that position. Also is a rancher, has a ranch out there in the Flat Willow country. So we're excited that he's going to come join us and talk once again a little bit about session, some of the tax bills that were passed this session and how that impacts Montana producers. In addition to that, we're also going to have Whiffley. They always do a great job just talking about, your accounting needs and really some of those impacts to the not only the state level, but really at the national level, and some of those tax policies and how they impact Montana producers once again too. So great line of speakers. It'll be a good information for anybody that is interested in really all that tax, finance, and ag policy issues.
And then we will round out the meetings with our business session. So all of the work that's done within the committee hearings will come to the business session for an update. And then we will finish out the meeting or mid-year meeting with Karen Bud Fallon, who will be joining us to talk about 30 by 30 and the America the Beautiful plan rolled out by the Biden administration. So a lot of great content jam-packed with information and speakers over the 3 days. And we would really encourage you, if you have not yet registered, to register now and join us in Lewistown the 9th through the 11th. Or as Jay mentioned, you can just, if you're not sure what your workload looks like for that day, but something becomes open and you can drive into town, we'd love to see you, and you can register on site as well.
Great. And it's going to be just once again a fun time in Lewistown. We're going to be at the Yogo Inn. It's centrally located. So certainly please come join us. It's going to be a fun event. Well, a big part of our mid-year meeting is also recognizing our sponsors. Our sponsors are really a big part of making a successful mid-year, and we'd like to take this time to really recognize our sponsors and encourage our listeners to also reach out and tell them thank you also. So just starting at the top of the list, we have the Montana Livestock Ag Credit. Great partners, been great partners for a long time. We also do have the Ford stores. Frontline Ag. We have the Lewistown Highline and Glasgow Rental, Massey Ferguson, the Silvas Insurance Group, also a good supporter of us, Bear Environmental Science. We also do have the Merck Animal Health. We have the Northwest Farm Credit Services, and we have the Ag Risk Advisors. Along with that, we do have the Eagles Club, where we'll have our sunset after party. And we also have our local affiliate, the Fergus County Livestock Association, who generously donated their efforts toward the band. So we'll have a little fun there too.
Also, we have Hubbard's Feed, Lewistown Propane and Fertilizer, Inc., Northern Ag, Purina, Rabo Agrifinance, Stockman Bank, Western Ag Network, Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch Foundation, Bank of the Rockies, First Interstate Bank, Lewistown Livestock Auction, Marks, Miller, Post and Polls, Inc., and Montana Land Reliance. So once again, we would just like to thank these sponsors. It's great to have these kind of partnerships, to have a strong membership event like we have at Midyear. So once again, thank you, sponsors. And many of them will be joining us at Midyear. So if you see them, make sure to thank them at the event as well. Well, now I would like to I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Governor Greg Gianforte. The governor has just been a very strong supporter of agriculture. It's been fun to go through a legislative session with him, and we've had just a lot of interaction on just a lot of fun events with Beef Proclamation Month. And so now we would like to welcome Governor Greg Gianforte.
Great. Well, today I would like to welcome a special guest. We have Governor Greg Gianforte joining us today on our podcast. It's a real pleasure, and welcome, Governor.
Well, Jay, it's great to be with you.
I thought we might just kick things off today, just as we start our interview, just to hear from you and kind of your thoughts and observations on your first 6 months in office.
Well, it's a tremendous honor to be Montana's 25th governor. We're off to a strong start. We had a good legislative session. We advanced a number of bills and legislation that'll promote Montana ag. I was thrilled to get new leadership in the agencies. So that's just terrific. We're focused on getting through this pandemic and getting Montana open back up for business, which is, we accomplished that. And we're just excited about what lies ahead.
Well, great. Thank you, Governor. Well, first of all, we'd like to kind of kick it off by thanking you for the work that you've done on behalf of agriculture and continuing to keep agriculture as part of the conversation. In March, you celebrated Ag Week by hosting leaders from around the state at a roundtable, which Jay participated in. And then in May, we had the honor of hosting you out at the Hahn Family Ranch to sign the Beef Month proclamation. But I think the fan favorite for everyone was your Meat Day video that you produced in response to Colorado's Meat Out Day. So can you share a little bit with us about how that video came about and why activities like that are important for you and your administration?
Well, we know Montana produces the best beef in the world. And I just couldn't let that situation go by without a response from Montana. Governor Polis declared Meat Out Day, a day when people were not supposed to eat meat. I thought we needed to have a rebuttal, so I went and got a big honking ribeye and had it thrown on the grill, put on a plate in front of me. I whacked off a big piece and looked into the camera and said, every day is Meat Day here in Montana. And that video went viral. I think we had 300,000 views all over the world. And let's just say meat lovers united. And I think it's a great time just to promote Montana beef.
Yeah, and Governor, I'd just like to also thank you for the Beef Month proclamation in May. And I have that framed in my office right now. Your signature. That was a pretty exciting, fun day for us also, just to highlight just the great product that we raise here in Montana and do it out there on one of our Environmental Stewardship Award winners ranches. And so we'd like to thank you for really recognizing that and taking the time to do that. It was just a special event for us.
Well, it was neat. The Hahn family has been on ground in that valley for over 100 years. They're terrific stewards. They're making a livelihood out of it, and they're a great example of Montana's #1 industry. So I was very pleased to highlight their operation.
Great. So maybe we'll just jump into the legislative session. So right out the bat of your administration, you have to jump right into the legislative session. You came to the table. You had a number of priorities that I think have positively impacted our membership and really the economy of Montana. And I thought maybe you could just recap for some of our listeners some of your priority bills and what it kind of meant to Montana families in Montana.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, Jay. I ran on a very simple platform. Let's create more good paying jobs and protect the Montana way of life. As I said, ag is our #1 industry. And I was pleased that I also ran on a platform to reduce the tax burden. The biggest thing, I think, helping farms and ranches is the tripling of the exemption for business equipment tax. It raises the exemption from $100,000 a year to $300,000 a year. And it took about 3,600 businesses off the business equipment tax rolls here in Montana. And about 1,500 of those are farms and ranches. So, the equipment sits idle a lot of times 10 months out of the year. It doesn't make sense. You pay tax on it. It disincents capital investment. We are pleased to get that done. In addition, we created a gas and fuel tax refund program for agriculture. If you're using gasoline off-road, just like we have dyed diesel, now you can get a refund on any road taxes for gasoline if you're not using it, if you're using it back on the farm or ranch. And we also increased funds to help with livestock recovery, so you can get reimbursement at market value. So ag was a priority for us during this last legislative session, and I'd love to hear from your members if there's additional things we could do. I think one of the areas I'm most excited about, working with the lieutenant governor, a rancher herself from a ranching family. 5 members of her family are in the Montana Cowboy Hall of Fame. She's heading up our red tape relief task force. Boy, I hear from irrigators, from farmers, from ranchers, it's just way too much red tape. State agencies have not been responsive on water permits and these things. We're turning that upside down both DEQ and DNRC, hoping to streamline these processes. But if there's friction that your members are experiencing with state government, we'd love to hear from you. We're turning over every rock, and we want to make sure we have the right level of regulation in place to protect the environment and to protect public safety, but the extra stuff we need to get rid of.
Yes, and in addition to what you just mentioned, I think another significant thing to point out was your COVID liability initiative and bills that you brought forward to get our state open back up, which kind of brings us to the next topic that we wanted to chat about, which was, in addition to a very aggressive pro-business agenda that you guys had for this session, then the federal government came in and brought these American Rescue Plan Act funds to you. You've recently appointed Mike Foster, who was the director of Department of Agriculture, to move into a new role to lead the state in managing this program. Talk to us a little bit more about where we are in the ARPA funding process and what will be occurring in the next couple months.
Sure. And this was, let me just say, this spending on the behalf of the federal government is reckless. That being said, we're going to be good stewards of this money. To put it in perspective, the ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan funds, are greater than the annual budget in the state of Montana. And we're going to receive that over the next couple of years. We had to put a system in place to make sure we're good stewards. We invest it in areas that give us long-term benefit, and we're literally spending our kids and our grandkids' money. So let's make sure our kids and grandkids get some benefit out of that. There are 4 buckets of ARPA money. And again, Mike Foster, formerly running the Farm Services Administration here in Montana, then Department of Ag Director. Now he's heading up the ARPA funds. There are 4 buckets, one for economic development. Prior COVID money had been used to help meat packers build capacity here in the state. Those projects still qualify. We're looking for projects that make sense there to help expand meat processing capacity. A second bucket is broadband. So we make sure we have high-speed internet and we close the digital divide. The third bucket relates to the HHS and programs there. And finally, there is economic development. So there are 4 committees headed up by Mike Foster. They're made up of bipartisan groups from both the Senate, the House, and the governor's office. If people want more information on this program, they can go to ARPA, arpa.mt.gov. It's all lined out there, the application process. One of the challenges is the feds have not given us all the rules yet. So there's still a little time here where we're figuring this out. But if you check out arpa.mt.gov, you can find the details.
And also, I hopped on when that rolled out and was announced, and I would love to compliment you and your team. It is user-friendly, easy to find information, and really it has a ton of information for people if they have questions.
Yep.
I would agree. I was just going to also commend you and your staff for the great work, because it's nice to have one site where you can go find all the information, and that one certainly fits the bill. So we would congratulate you on that and making sure that it's available to Montanans, because we know there's a lot of great ideas out there. We do have a strong entrepreneurial aspect to Montanans, and so let's take advantage of that. So yeah, great work on that.
If I could add, Jay, I neglected to mention the infrastructure category includes water and sewer projects. We're still trying to get clarification from the feds on whether or not we can include irrigation projects, but that would be a big boon to ag if we're actually able to include that. So stay posted on that.
Great, thank you. So in addition to kind of the legislature, you've also rolled out your Montana Comeback Plan, and what are some of the key elements our listeners should be aware of as it kind of relates to the Comeback Plan?
Well, again, the platform is very simple: more good paying jobs so our kids and grandkids don't have to leave the state while protecting our Montana way of life. So the key elements, I believe that we ought to let people keep the fruits of their labor. So a big part of the comeback plan was lower taxes. It meant lower property taxes, less business equipment tax, a lower personal income tax rate. In total, our budget has $120 million of lower taxes over the next 2-year period. In addition, is the regulatory relief. And we really held the line on new spending. We cut about $145 million out of the budget. We did this by preserving all the essential services and making investments in trades education. We created up to 1,000 scholarships for carpentry, plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, machining, so we can get a skilled workforce. We included money to help local school districts improve starting teacher pay. And probably the largest new expenditure in our conservative budget was a $25 million heart fund, which is targeted at drug addiction and recovery. This is the drug epidemic is literally pulling our communities and families apart. And this is not bigger government. It's really a grant program we'll run through the Department of Health and Human Services to help community-based groups that are moving the needle on addiction and mental health in our local communities.
That's great. So Governor, we're going to shift the topic a little bit to more of the cattle industry. And I know you've had conversations with Jay and myself, as well as our leadership regarding cattle markets and transparency. And that's been a popular topic among many producers around the state over this last year. So at the end of May, you signed a letter along with 5 other governors calling for the Department of Justice to continue their investigation into the allegations regarding all the things regarding meat processing and transparency, and really called for this to be an urgent initiative. So we'd love to hear from you on how that came about, as well as if you've received a response to date or an update from the Department of Justice.
Yeah, well, this was an issue I worked on when I was your congressman, and it continues to be an issue now in the governor's office. We have too much concentration of power in the largest meat packers in the country. There appears to be monopoly behavior with price fixing, and the net result is our hardworking ranchers are not getting a fair price for their beef. And so I've called on the Department of Justice to get to the bottom of this. We have not heard a response yet, but we're going to stay after it. And while we're doing that, however, what we need to be doing is building more processing capacity here in the state. Let's break up this cartel by building some of our own. That's why I was pleased to sign into law legislation that allows sale of meat across state boundaries during this last legislative session. And I was pleased I was out with Jake Fettis at Amsterdam Meats. I was thrilled to see what he's doing, building and expanding a local processing plant. He used some of the COVID grant money to do that. I was up at Highline Processing in Malta. Great to see what they're doing. We need to take this, no pun intended, bull by the horns and get some more processing capacity here in the state, because I know discerning consumers are willing to pay a premium for Montana beef. The problem today is we lose the brand through the supply chain. And until we either contract for exclusive Montana processing or build our own processing capacity, we're not going to be able to capture that premium, which rightfully should go back to the producer.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, certainly we have seen and we are hearing of a number of projects that are in the works, and more than just in the initial phases of it, looking at capturing some of that value of Montana beef, because you are right, we do raise the best beef in the world, and we'd like to share it with it, and we'd like to capture some of that value. So it's just a great opportunity that I don't think is going to go away right away. Just now that COVID is subsiding somewhat, that interest is still there.
Yeah, and I appreciate the partnership with the stock growers. I think, honestly, this should be primarily be a private sector led initiative, except where there's bad behavior. That's why I'm happy to weigh in on this Department of Justice investigation. We need to get to the bottom of that. If antitrust laws were broken, they need to be pursued. If there was criminal behavior, those charges need to be brought. But we also have to take this situation into our own hands, and let's get control of the supply chain. so that Montana producers can get a fair price.
Great. Well, I know just you've been busy since the legislature has ended. I don't think you take a day off or a minute off. It seems like we certainly appreciate just the work that you do out there. But one of the things that's pretty exciting for our group, just in the natural resource arena, is the Good Neighbor Authority. We've seen some successes in that, and you just had a recent announcement that you're looking at expanding that. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity just to talk a little bit about that program and kind of how you envision expanding that and seeing what we can get done there.
Yeah, well, I'm not sharing any new news with you. I mean, we have a forest health crisis in the state of Montana. Montana's Forest Action Plan that came out in December identified 4 million acres that are in urgent need of active forest management. When I was in Congress, I worked on the Good Neighbor Authority as part of the Farm Bill, and it gives the state the ability, in collaboration with the Forest Service or BLM, to manage federal lands from a forest perspective. I've directed Amanda Castor, the new director of DNRC, that coordinates our forestry program in the state, to get as many acres under active forest management as possible. And when we do active forest management, we have better habitat for wildlife, we have healthier forests, we have better wildfire resiliency, and we have jobs. And so this year, the challenge I've given to DNRC is to more than double the number of acres under active forest management. I think we can make that happen. It's still not enough. We need to do more. There are other tools in the box, however, like collaborative stewardship agreements, which allow us to do landscape size management over an extended period, like multiple decades. And you can pre-permit 20 years worth of work, so you only have to go through the litigation cycle once. We should be doing more of that. And that's the challenge I've given to DNRC. They're stepping up. In fact, I've had a dinner tonight with the state's forester and the director of DNRC. We're going to talk about this along with some people from our timber industry, because nobody likes to see our forests burn, and we need to bring jobs back to our communities as well.
Absolutely. Well, as Jay mentioned, and as you mentioned, you are a busy guy, and you take advantage of getting in front of folks and meeting the people of Montana at every opportunity. So you have recently kicked off your 56 county tour, where you're out meeting with constituents around the state and every county. I know you've hit a couple counties so far and will be doing more throughout the year, but tell us what you've been hearing from people and what they can expect or how they can find you while you're traveling the state.
Well, I love to get out and visit folks. My staff made a big mistake the first week I was in office. They didn't put anything on my schedule one afternoon, and I was bouncing around like a caged animal in the governor's office. I finally broke out, went over and just started going cube to cube at one of the agencies, just saying, "Hey, I'm Greg. I just started work across the street here. What's your name? How long you been here?" And it was shocking to me. I met state employees, good, hardworking state employees, had been here 20, 30 years. They'd said they'd never seen a governor in their office. I just, coming from the private sector, I don't know how to do things except get out and visit with folks. So my plan is to get to all 56 counties every year during my term. We've just started. Now that legislature's out, I've been out visiting Good Neighbor Authority projects here in Lewis and Clark County, up in Lincoln County. Again, I have part of my tour is going to be a value-added ag tour later this summer, because I think we ought to be capturing more value from the commodities we produce. We're going to be going to places like, Montana Milling and some of these good meat processing plants, other people that have figured out how to take Montana ag products and add value on top so we can capture more. I love meeting with county commissioners. I think they're the truest government, is really closest to the people, and our county commissioners know where every stray dog is and every pothole and every road, and everybody in the county usually has their home phone number. So I love sitting down with them and hearing what's going on in their life. And of course, meeting with our producers, whether that's our grain growers, our stock growers, our pulse crop producers, whoever it happens to be. I like to understand where the friction is so I can come back and hopefully bring a little more customer service to state government.
Well, from a customer service standpoint, I mean, we have seen a tremendous increase, and certainly the directors you've appointed have done a tremendous job also, and we very much value working with them. And just that working relationship has just been, I think, real advantageous to both the agency and to our producers out here in Montana. So it's been great. It's been a welcome change, and we certainly do appreciate your efforts. Is there any other final comments you might like to make to our listeners?
Well, again, I would just say we had a very successful legislative session. In the end, I signed into law about 550 bills during this session. We really advanced the ball, but I was talking to one legislator as he was leaving town, and he was an individual that had introduced and saw pass 24 bills. And he said to me, well, I think we picked about half of the low-hanging fruit. So as I've been saying to folks, there's still a few rocks in the rock pile. We're not done yet. Turning a ship like this with 11,000 employees, inculcating a culture of customer service, undoing some of the bureaucratic processes that have been in place for literally decades is going to take a little time. But I just want you to know our door's open. As we can help reach out, we'd love to hear from you.
Great. And as always, it's just a real pleasure to actually have the governor of the state of Montana join us on the Montana Stockgrower podcast. It's been wonderful. We've just enjoyed your support of agriculture and the Montana producers and the Montana economy. It's been a lot of fun. And we're going to have the governor's going to join us at our mid-year meeting here on June 10th in Lewistown. So we're excited about that and being able to speak in front of our group. So it's been fun, Governor.
Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you up in Fergus County.
Thank you very much. Well, once again, we'd like to thank the governor for joining us today. He did a great job of just showing how important agriculture is to the state of Montana and what a critical part of the economy agriculture is in Montana also. So once again, we'd just like to thank the governor for sharing his time with us today. He does a great job, and reach out and invite him to your hometown because he has interest in covering the entire state. So thank you, Governor.
We'd also like to thank you for sharing your time with us and for joining us for The Rancher's Voice. We always encourage you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure to like, share, and comment on each episode. We'd love to hear from you, so email us at kenny@keni@mtbeef.org. And we'd like to thank you again for listening. Until next week.
Thanks, everybody.